significance or the role, the political value of the vice president. My guest is Chima Christian, who is a good governance and public policy analyst, joining us this morning. By the way, let's get the conversation started. If you want to be a part of it, call 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888. Now, the chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Muslim ticket of his party, is the work of God. And it's the will of God. And saying Christians in the country who are agitating the choice need not fear. Don't be afraid. This is the work of God. That's the chairman of the All Progressives Congress there. We'll talk about this. Some people have said the vice president is a spare tire. It's not really relevant when it comes to governance. And so people should not care what or who the vice president is. At the end of the day, he's not so relevant in governance. But some others say, look, this shows that we are being carried along. All of these we'll be talking about this morning. Joining, seems like this conversation has been overflowed, but it's quite important to discuss this. Chima, and so let's get to it. The vice presidential role, right? Statutorily, the vice president should attend all meetings of the cabinet, and also chair the Economic Council. Is that enough for people or for someone at that level? People say, look, at the end of the day, he's just a spare tire. He's not so relevant in governance. What are your thoughts on this?
Functionally, the way our constitution is designed and then the way real politics is, they are not far from the truth that the vice president is essentially a spare tire, because in a presidential system, while you have a vice president, is in the case of incapacitation. And where do you have this from? It's from the United States of America that we're copying, where they've had issues with some presidents dying midway in their tenure, some shot to death, and then in that instance, you don't have someone. So you want to have someone who is standby, who is your spare tire, so to speak, who is there to take on the activities of government in case of any emergency. But where you have that number one available, nothing happens to him, and he's there to discharge his duties. All you can do is the roles that are assigned to you. You are chairing the Economic Council, but at the end of the day, it is the president that signs off on the major decisions of the government, right? For instance, and then what you have there is advocacy role, right? If you want to push a particular agenda, you have to advocate for it. You have to make a strong case for it. But the decision is ultimately with the president. All you have to do is to bring an important perspective to the conversation. But ultimately, the president takes his decision. But while you have this discussion is essentially because there is the issue of trust. While we're having these conversations around balancing your ticket and all of those things, is that there is deep suspicion that the people don't trust the government, and that people also are divided on ethnic lines, on religious lines, and on identity, by the way, is a very important thing to an African, right? An African sees his identity as his highest form. It shouldn't be so, but that's where we are. That people identify first as, like when we are in the microcosm called Africa, you see us dragging jollof rice with Japan, with Ghanaians, you see us dragging with South Africans, you see us. So we are Nigerians. And then when we come into Nigeria, we are Igbos, we are Hausas, we are Yorubas, we are Fulanis, we are Muslims, we are this, we are that. And then even when you come into the microcosm of Muslims, you see that they have different sects. If you also come into diving down into Christianity, you also see there are sects. Like in Anambra, where I come from, there are discussions about whether you should have a Catholic governor, whether you should have an Anglican governor. So all you have to see is issue of identity and trust playing up. So when people talk about, I don't trust this ticket, that it's not balanced, people are saying, I suspect that these people will have a meeting and there will not be someone like me that is in the room to offer our own perspective. And that's what you're hearing by people saying, this ticket is not balanced, the other ticket is balanced. So all you have is that there is an important and a huge trust deficits that's in the system. And after this conversation, Nigerians should sit back and address the trust issue. How can we trust others? How can we trust that people who may not be of our religion, who may not be of our, are going to take the best interest in the name of Nigeria, and not necessarily to pursue their own agenda, maybe religious agenda or sectional agenda? So all of these issues are what I hear people when they say the ticket is not balanced. What I hear is, I don't trust you.
Speaking of trust, let's look at some of the vice presidential positions that have been held since 1999 till now. The Olusegun Obasanjo administration had Atiku Abubakar as vice president, and while that was there, while that ticket was on, Atiku Abubakar wanted to become president himself. He was so ambitious, wanted to become president. And we saw a situation where Atiku was the one who people say, look, fought the, Obasanjo third term bid. After that administration, Obasanjo, like he would say, gave Nigerians Yaradua. And the Yaradua administration had Goodluck Ebele Jonathan as vice president. Yaradua passed on. Jonathan was fortunate enough to become president. It is only in this administration that we haven't seen a situation where there's a serious rift between the vice president and the president. Now, some people also made the calculations to say, oh, the president, the Southwest was making a calculation to say, in the case where this president, there's a demise, or, the president is incapacitated, the vice president will take over position and the presidency will return to the Southwest, like it happened in the Yaradua administration. In all of this, there's an issue of trust. People are looking at saying, look, we can get this back if we play right. Should these trust issues be in the front burner when people choose who they run with? Because it seems like this is an issue of trust where, for instance, Tinubu picking Kashim Shettima as the person that he trusts, right? This is a person that I trust. I feel like I can work with. This is the person that even when I'm not there, I would be comfortable for him to run the affairs of the country. Isn't that the best way to go about picking the vice president?
Well, when we talk about trust, you have two types of those trust. You trust to mean the trust or the relationship between the president and the vice president. And I will give it to you that Buhari and Osibanjo has been a wonderful, wonderful ticket. Despite their poor governance records, what you find is that there seems to be harmony. That even when the vice president does not agree with the policies or policy direction of the president, that he perhaps conveys those disagreements internally, and that you don't see public outbursts or public, for instance, that you mentioned during the Atiku Obasanjo era, where Atiku openly opposed Obasanjo's third term bid, and I think it's supporting with that. And then you also heard Jonathan did also work harmoniously with his leader until such a time where the National Assembly and all of those people had to invoke the doctrine of necessity, they called it, to say, look, our president is incapacitated. And God rest his soul, he eventually passed on while in office, right? And then Jonathan had to step in and then did 2 years of that, got 4 years of his own, did not get re-elected. So when you are looking at trust now between the vice president, and I don't want to speculate as to what was going in Tinubu's mind when he made that choice, but I don't think from an outsider looking in, and again, my analysis is based on the limited information I have, I don't think he chose because of trust. I think he chose because of political calculation. I think he wants someone who can give him numbers. I think he wants someone who can give him bulk northern votes. If you look at votes from Borno, for instance, and if you studied past presidential election cycles, and you look at Borno and the kind of numbers they turn out, and because in Borno, even in 2019, there were places where the opposition could not even plant as little as party agents because the environment was too hostile for members of the opposition. So I also see that might play out in 2023, where members of some opposition parties may not be able to field a party in support of a particular candidate or aspirant or party, that they will taper down their opposition to say internal things, maybe voter manipulation or anything like that. So I think Tinubu picking Shettima is purely calculative. One, I want to get Muslim votes. And who do I need to get Muslim votes? I need to get a northern Muslim like them. Who votes? If you look at Kanu votes, it will be split. Yeah, so Kanu is not in the mix. If you look at Kaduna votes, it will be split. So Kaduna is not in the mix. Who else can give you that number? If you look at Katsina and what is happening, if you look at Adamawa, you can't get it. So the best thing for him to do is to go to Northeast. Who will give you the numbers in the Northeast? Borno. While you're in Borno, you are looking at two people, and you're looking at, by the way, governor that is performing, Babagana Umar Asulum, who has said he has no interest in this until he serves out his term. And then you look at castigate up a bit, and you see his boss. Who remains, people don't understand this, who remains, whether you like it or not, he remains, his feet is firmly planted in the local politics of those places. So you're going to see that a lot of imams would shift to him. You're going to see that he will get votes. So I think Tinubu's decision is purely based on analytics, purely based on calculations, not because he trusts him or anything, but because this is the man who can get it done for me. If he picks perhaps a northern Muslim, they might be saying, oh, the North will not vote a northern Muslim. So all of those things.
Northern Christian.
Northern Christian. So, and I have argued, does it mean that southern Muslims are not Muslim enough? And then does that mean that northern Christians are not northern enough? Right? So that argument is there. But what you should now talk about is, when you're talking about balance, that Christians need to know that there is another Christian in the room when decisions are made. That's the only thing. Even if it's perfunctory, even if it's normative, even if it's figurehead, spare tire, but it's our own spare tire. Let it be that we have a spare tire at all than having no tire at all, right? So that's the reaction you're seeing from the people. And then if you were to flip the coin and you had a Christian ticket, Muslims would be like, oh, what is happening? There is nobody in the top hierarchy for us, right? There's nobody in the room that will argue on for us, even if the argument is not carried, but let the argument be made. Because I've mentioned to you that the president has only an advisory role.
The vice president.
Yes, the vice president has an advisory role to play, right? Given the way we practice our democracy. But some people will say, let him advise. Let it be that his advice is not taken, rather than having nobody there to represent our interest. And that is group identity, group interest, and all of those things. So let's see how it goes. But again, Nigeria should strive for balance, because having seen the way Nigeria is today, looking at how tensed up things are, whether you're talking about conversation with people in the parks, people in the street, people in the marketplace, you see that people have this palpable. I'm not talking about terrorism. I'm not even talking about all of those things. I'm not talking about the Kuje prison. I'm not talking about all of those things. I'm talking about when you're having discussions with everyday Nigerians, you see the palpable agitation in their hearts. And when you have such agitations in the hearts and minds of people, it won't take too long before it starts playing out in real insecurity, right? And so when you have people troubled in that regard, the best thing to do is to taper down on a lot of sensitive issues like this. But again, this one will be ultimately for Nigerians to make.
Let's flip that and look at the opposition parties. Yes. The major opposition party, as they like to be called, the PDP, also picked Atiku Abubakar picked the governor of Delta State as his running mate, and that also caused controversy in the party. And so it's not even enough for a person to be Christian, or it's not enough for a person to pick a vice presidential candidate from the south or from the east or from the north. Now it is also a matter of, oh, this person cannot represent us, because we saw a situation where people were saying, okay, he should have picked somebody from the southeast. He should have picked Wike, who has worked for the party over time, rather than, and there seems to be nothing that can be done to please everybody. So politicians are just settling for, let's just do what we can, and we can't please everybody.
Yeah, all actions indeed have consequences, including political actions. All your choices have consequences, and Atiku's choice will have consequences. Tinubu's choice, DP. Atiku himself had been a vice president, and he, for one, knows the real cost of a disloyal vice president, because he's been one himself. He knows the enormous power a vice president who intends to openly oppose a president. He knows the damage he could cause. And everybody who sees Wike's temperament, Wike's access to resources, Wike's rising political profile, might feel a little bit intimidated by that, like saying, oh, I don't trust that, if I become president, will I be able to control him? Will he be loyal to me? And then when you have someone who had been disloyal to his own principal, Obasanjo, he doesn't want to hear
any whiff of disloyalty. So him not picking Wike, as I see it, again, from the outside looking in, is as a result of someone who knows the price of disloyalty, doesn't want, and he went for Ifeanyi Okowa, who has shown through his courage for all his political appointed positions, because he's rose through the ranks to become the governor, and he has remained loyal to even his political godfathers, or you could, I don't want to use godfathers, to his political family, the people who propped him up, the people who helped him and gave him all he had remained loyal to them. And then what you've seen is that people help people to become governors, and in the first 2 or 3 months they are at war, right? But this man has shown that he could be loyal. So I think loyalty as against numbers, because Wike could give you the numbers. And again, if you pick somebody from like Wike, well, his base, which is Northern Muslim, or his Northern Bloc, which is where he's hoping to get majority of his votes from. Again, you have to get 25% support networks, right? Will his supporters, base, that's people we call base supporters, be comfortable with having Wike join him on the ticket? Wike, having said a lot of things, you know, he's a temperamental person, you know, he's granted a lot of interviews, you know, you don't even have to scout the internet to pick up Wike dangling in machete, you know, saying all manner of things, singing war songs, you know, Wike being the vintage Wike we know. So if you add Wike to an Atiku ticket, will Atiku support be comfortable with that? So those are political considerations you have to make. Again, all these choices have consequences, because you've lost Wike and you've lost a lot of governors who are on his side. Again, I think there are remedial measures. Who knows what will happen? 8 months is long enough time to have people who are aggrieved settle their grievances and agree to work together, or they could choose to work for any other party of their choosing. So those are the things, that considerations are there. But what you see in his ticket, regardless of how you look at it, is that it is balanced. Is that you have a Northern Muslim and then you have a Southern Christian, and no matter people who are saying, Wike should have been picked, an Igbo man should have been picked, at least they are not arguing that there is no Christian. That, because you know Nigeria often argued as a secular state, and then if you're going to, but again, in all of these arguments, one thing I find interesting is that nobody talks about the pagans. Nobody talks about the atheists. Nobody talks about the people who don't even know whether God exists or not. Because that's also, although you could say they are in the minority, but you know, are they not entitled to having a top shot? Must you be a Christian? Must you be a Muslim to become Nigeria's number 1 or number 2? Can't you believe anything? And so far your records are good, and so far your plans for the people are good. So when we are lamenting, when Christians are lamenting that their interests are no longer being carried along, especially in the APC Muslim tickets, we should also look at, okay, what have we done to pagans? What have we done to ambivalents, people who don't even know what
traditional worshippers?
What have we done to them? And who is even talking for them? And so those are some of the kind of worms I think these discussions have opened. And I think I should expect to see some of them who are on that, you know, any side of the religious divide to come up and say, you look, we've also been marginalized. Look, there's not been any pagan, for instance, aspiring to become Nigeria's president. I mean, there's not been any atheist, for instance. And these things shouldn't count, unfortunately, because the people don't trust the system. People don't trust each other. We have to rely on identity and group identity to form our decisions.
Did you see, you know, the success, if that's eventually, if the APC ticket wins the 2023 election, do you see that, you know, what's the word now? You know, putting aside this whole issue of religion and ethnicity when we come to, you know, every election.
Sorry, Tinubu and Shettima will have incredible opportunity if they win to bring about the kind of governance Nigerians might need. But they have track record. Tinubu has been in Lagos. He has a track record, so people know what to expect from him. And if you look at the way he's running his campaign now, he seems to be running a regional campaign. The Miloko, all the incitement, and then even the governor, Sanwo-Olu's interview the other day, you see that it seems like they are speaking to their base. And if you also look at Shettima, there are a lot of accusations about extremism, about Muslims. And these are people who Nigerians believe in. And they get in there and for 4 years work so hard agenda. And they've proven themselves in times past by their speeches, by their...
All right, the conversation continues. Keep it with us on your radio experience you can count on.
102.3.
Let's spice up your day. Tune in to a breath of fresh air. tunes until it gets extra and better. 102.3 Extra, weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with only J. Cheers to something new.
You gotta come see this!
This doesn't make any sense.
Tune in to Hall of Fame, where we strut the red carpets of the silver screen.
Learning of an infinite multiverse includes learning of infinite danger.
I am Sub-Zero. I like this one.
I know what this place is.
It's all about movies and what to watch out for every Thursday at 4 p.m. on Eagles 102.3 FM, Abuja.
Eagles Morning Rise. Eagles Morning Rise with
Hannah Prince. 9:37 is the time. Join the conversation now. Feel free to call 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888. You can send messages on 090-9705-4450. Do you think the office of the Vice President is valuable enough for people to clamor for and fight for and agitate for? Do you think it has that much value? Let us in on your thoughts. 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888.
Morning.
Hello, good morning.
Elder Noja is my name.
Elder Noja, good to have you.
And my regard to your friend.
Go ahead. What happened? Elder Noja, please call us back. We'd love to hear from you. Elder Noja always comes with the history lessons. It's always interesting. All right, call us back 090-7353-0044 and 090-8766-8888. Now, before we took that pause, okay, it seems like we have another caller on the line. Hello. Hello, good morning. Hello. What's happening with the network? Hoping it's a network. Don't give up. Just keep trying, and you would get through if you don't give up. Now, Chima, let's look at this whole clamor here and there. The elections the campaigns haven't even kicked off yet. The campaigns officially will kick off in September, 28th September precisely. And we've had situations where allegations and accusations and all of these are already coming up. In fact, people are already, pitching themselves against each other. You get on social media and you get worried that, the kind of hate and animosity that people throw out there, it just worries me. Before you respond and talk about that, let's bring in a caller. Hello, good morning.
My king. I've already you to King Mario. I don't know where it is. Good morning once again.
Thank you, Mario. I appreciate that. And you call me the king of Eagles FM.
Yes, good morning to my brother in the studio.
Good morning.
I think he has spoken well. He has spoken like an unbiased person, and he has spoken like somebody who does not have hate in his mind. Just like we've always said, the choice of Tinubu picking a Muslim as a running mate was basically to ensure victory for him. And that is the business he's doing currently as a politician. And he has set out to achieve victory come 2023. He will not see a road that will not lead him to victory and follow, no matter who is making noise around him. And like we have said, looking at Tinubu as a person from the southwest, there is no dichotomy between Christianity and Islam, because that is what we believe. We don't see each other as enemies. Most of us, we even share marriages, and we have brothers who is a Muslim, we have a brother who is also a Christian. We live in the same family. We never see any dichotomy between us. And I think that's the pedestrian is also following. He's looking for votes, he's looking for victory, and that is what he has gone for. And people, if you don't have faith, if you don't have bias in your heart, I don't think you should crucify him for that. That's just by the way. Finally, my friend, please permit me to talk about this. I wanted to talk about this in the morning, but that time did not permit me. The president gave an order that enough is enough for ASU. And what is the response to it? The ASU replied in that said it's not enough. It now shows that we are going to a level where president speaks, nobody obeys him. It shows that it's no longer recognized, no longer taken serious. That is why the president should do what is right. Let these children go back to school. Also, too, I'm also talking to ASU this morning. Please, they should be reasonable. The life of millions of people are at stake. They should, whatever that is their differences, please let them resolve this quick and fast. Let the life of others not ruin because of whatever they are fighting for. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for calling. Another caller is here. Hello. Oh, we lost that one. Try to call back. Okay, seems like you're here again.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement.
Thank you. My regards to my big brother, Maiwa. See, let me just buttress on what Maiwa said concerning Tinubu's choice. I really don't get sometimes the way we react. I have been saying this and I have been saying this. And you see, you know why sometimes I just laugh on Nigeria? But actually, I'll talk now, and it's raining all over the social media and conventional media that Babachile Lawal has spoken all manner of a thing. The same Babachile Lawal that we are accusing Buhari of not even jail because he's a corrupt man. Can you see the angle Nigeria we are doing sometimes that I just laugh at us? Are we really serious at all in this country? And again, I want to say something. Please, with due respect to my elder Onoja, the history in Nigeria, we all know the history. Even if I'm not old enough, at least there are records that show us some things that happened in the past. We are told in this country that who is his name? What is his name? Oh God! If you do, okay, go on under military. Run on Christian. There was no problem in this country. You get my point? Okay. There is the first what do you call it? A ceremonial president we have in Nigeria, in from the southeast. Run on a Christian ticket. There was no problem. See, as I speak to you today now in Nigeria, go and cross-check the whole governor across the whole the 36 governor in the state. Christians are more in number than the Muslim governors. The same thing, the deputies. Then I don't really understand. I will continue to ask one question. Where has religious put us? See, if truly what we are asserting is the fact, or the history that everybody is saying and it has never happened is the fact, or if we have been treading on this religious problem and that has kept us in this problem today, I think Nigeria has to go back to drawing board. Because it is we that always say something that we cannot keep doing the same thing and expect this different result. I think it is high time we should now change the narrative. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Let's state that, yes, that they run on a Christian ticket, but they didn't win the election. That was the 1979 election, I believe. They didn't win the election, and people say, well, that's the reason that they didn't win, because they ran a Christian ticket. Awolowo and Zik ran Christian tickets, and so they didn't win the elections. Anyway,
good morning.
Good morning. Elder Noja, quickly, please.
My regard to my junior brother Clement. Without history, you can't go forward. And that's the reason why army tried Nigeria and that before they give to politicians.
The military is in the past now. When a democratic.
That's the reason they don't protect Nigeria. That's the reason. You see, there's a religion politics in Nigeria here. I want a statement to go this accusation. All the director generals, how many of them are Christians? Don't let me talk what I want to talk in the media.
Let's not get all divisive.
Let me go back. I've said the history in this morning. The reason why we remove Buhari from power, when we the military administration, the Supreme Military Council advised you to drop Idiago and pick Peter Domakaye, Colonel Domakaye. He refused. That's why they removed him. And I tell you the reason why they did not hand over the government to Abiola. I have said to other media, there's no way why Muslim tickets can run in Nigeria, because I don't think that statement know about of OIC. What the OIC is doing to Nigeria here. Christian talk. You don't have pictures of Bible in the heart. You know the problem of OIC here. What I will say, no Christians from not here ever be president, because outside plan can never back him. And then there's no Muslim from town.
You don't have that on authority. You're not an authority on northern issues. Are you an authority on northern issues?
I'm an old man. I have disgraced Nigeria. I have been in Nigeria. I have been in the government for long years before I retire. We should not deceive ourselves. It's not possible.
But the Nigeria of 1993 is different from Nigeria of 2023. Things have changed. It's been over 30 years.
My brother, you are working on the radio station, private radio station. You are politician now. Those people in the government, are they better than you? Because you come from somewhere. Go now and see the appointment in the government. What are we talking? If we don't know the history of Nigeria, it's quick quiet. We will know the history of Nigeria, know the politics of Nigeria. Allow us to say to people to learn. Thank you very much. God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you, Elder Noja. Well, let's not get all divisive, especially on radio. We have these conversations to shape and mold our country, especially, and keep it together, not for the dividers. Okay, let's do that. Let's stick to those principles, and it would be good. We're wrapping up now. Chima, you've heard from the callers.
Yes.
Now, there's also we're going to talk about the hate and animosity that Nigerians spew, especially during elections or election cycles like this. When elections come around, people who go to the same markets and begin to fight themselves, and it doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't. What it shows you is the level of anger and frustration in the land. Because one of the things, if people have food on their table, if there are no killings, insecurity, and then especially when those insecurities seem to have the imprimatur or signature of religious or agenda, I'm sure a lot of Nigerians have heard about agenda this, agenda that. And when people begin to have those suspicions, I mean, they don't trust the state, they don't trust the government. Not that there won't be insecurity, but if there is insecurity and the government is firm on that insecurity, then people can say, okay, yeah, this is a lapse because nobody can get 100%. Even as a father, you can't provide for 100% for your kids. You can't show up 100% for your friends. But if you're doing something significant, they will say, okay, yeah, I can trust him that he's been there for me, been there for me, been there for me. So this one time that he's not there, no problems. But when the people have a series and series of disappointments, when Benue people look at the government, can they trust the government? When people of Nasarawa look at the government, can they trust the government? And when you begin to pinpoint the communities that are attacked, when you begin to look at who are the aggressors and who are the victims, and when you begin to what churches do they go to, what religion do they, and you begin to feel, people begin to feel that perhaps it might not be so, but people begin to make conjectures, or perhaps the alleged aggressors are from the same side with the president, and perhaps that's why the president is. So when you leave these things open, people begin to fill in with a lot of conjectures, a lot of conspiracy theories. I don't know whether these things are true or not, but what I know is that Nigerians are uncomfortable. The Nigerians are hungry and angry with the system. And if this anger is not managed properly, it could snowball into what we don't want. And that's why all conversations towards 2023 should be laced with grace and decorum. Even people who win should win with grace and decorum. They should not gloat about it. And even people who are pushing Muslim should not do it from the point of arrogance. Because what conversations I've seen on Twitter, I'm a Christian, and that's obvious. But when you see the arrogance of people who pretend or assume that they own Nigeria and that they can't do anything they want and that nothing will happen, that's not the kind of conversation that leads to a healthy country. And but you also don't want to reply them by becoming an extremist yourself. So when they show you hatred, all you have to do is to do what? To show them love, to see. Let's discuss, even if it's going to be a Muslim ticket. What is in it for Christians? Are Christians going to sleep with their two eyes closed? Because that's what they want. A government that can guarantee the basic security, economy. And if they don't see that in you, no matter what church you go to, no matter where you pray on Friday or whatever you do, people will not believe in you. So I see this chance. I have a candidate I'm supporting, but I am not here to campaign for anybody. I will vote him. Nigerians will vote their choice. At the end of the day, when we make our voting decision and the results are announced and the winner emerges, whether PDP, APC, Labour Party, YPP, whatever party the person comes from, what we want to see is someone who will be committed to all Nigerians, who will be fair to all Nigerians, who will develop Nigeria, because Nigerians are hungry and angry, who will diffuse this tension. But if you continue with this divisiveness, with
dismissing the anger in the hearts of people, it can only take a little time before it starts manifesting. Because people are angry. This is the anger. Very soon they start verbalizing and expressing those animosities. And I don't want Nigeria. Nigeria is already at that stage. It could get worse, but we don't want it to get worse.
What a great way to end the conversation. Thank you to everyone who's called in, to those of you who tried to get across but couldn't for one reason or the other. We really apologize, and we hope that tomorrow would make time for you to talk some more on the program. My guest this morning, Chima Christian, good governance and public policy analyst. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you so much for giving me this incredible opportunity. And I do hope that after the program, you will take time to take me around your city.
Yeah, I hope so. Okay, so I'd love to say this as we close. So people, Nigerians, over time, we've heard people tell you, take their money and vote your conscience. No, don't do that. When they come with what we refer to, Nigerians will talk about blood money a lot. What is blood money? If someone takes money that's supposed to be meant for the protection of lives and property, puts them in their pockets, and during elections they give you those money, that's blood money. And because your family, friends, loved ones, Nigerians have lost their lives on account of insecurity, if you take that money, you're taking blood money. If someone takes money that's meant for the production, for construction of roads, and Nigerians die as a result of potholes in those roads, and they bring that money to you during elections and you take it, that's blood money. When people take monies that meant for hospitals, and you go to the hospital and your family, your loved ones die in the hospital because there are no drugs and there's no good facilities at the hospital. You take that money when they give you during elections, you're taking blood money. So I'd say to you, reject that money. Do not take money. Do not vote because of money. Osun State goes to the elections on Saturday. Do not take monies. Tell your family. Do not assume that they know. Your loved ones, your friends in Osun State, tell them, let them know that these monies are blood money. They shouldn't take them. That's if they're coming, especially from politicians. Do your best to vote your conscience. Vote who you think is right for you and that would serve you. And that would be where we close it this morning. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of the conversation. For sure, thank you so much for putting us in pictures. And Olije is in the studio. It's Baby Friday. How you doing?
What's up?
I'm all right. What's happening?
It's Thursday. I like the check shirt.
Yeah.
And the orange. You know?
Good to see you. These days, the shades, the glasses. Don't worry. These days, your glasses are always on point. I know, but you don't leave them at home these days. You come with them.
No, I want to be like you.
Okay, good stuff. So, what's happening on the show this morning?
You don't know. Thursday.
It's Thursday.
I wanted to say something, right? We're concentrating too much on. Okay, let's just leave that topic for another day. Okay. But I feel like we have other political parties in the country. Seems like our attention is there's one already. Can we just channel to others?
People are mostly concerned about people who they feel have, the control of states' resources. So you can't really shy away from those conversations. Stay with us on your radio experience. You can count on Olije 6 over and 102.3 extra shortly. But before then, business news. My name